The tribes of Israel. The tribe of Dan. When Jacob lay upon his bed of blessing, his sons gathered close to hear what the Spirit of God would say through him. To Dan he spoke words, both mysterious and weighty. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. Genesis 49:16-17. Dan, whose name means to judge, was born of Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant.
In this video, we will explore all the details about Dan, the son of Jacob and Bilhah. So, get ready to uncover the true history and origin of this often neglected tribe. Before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing more content like this. Now, let's dive together into the fascinating history of Israel's forgotten tribe. The true history and origin of Dan, the forgotten tribe of Israel. According to the book of Genesis, Dan was the first of the two sons of Jacob with Bilhah, Rachel's maid, and the fifth son of Jacob in total. His mother, Bilhah, was a woman of Aramean origin, a Syrian who became one of Jacob's concubines. As reported in Genesis 35 verse 22 and 30:3-6, Rachel, who could not have children, said to Jacob, "Here is my maid Bilhah, go to her so that she may bear children on my knees, and that I also may have children through her." Jacob agreed, and Bilhah bore a son, whom Rachel named Dan, saying, "God has judged me and heard my voice, and has given me a son."
Though not from the favored wife, his destiny was no less divine. He would rise as a symbol of justice, one called to discern right from wrong, to bring balance among the tribes. And in the wilderness journey, his banner bore the image of an eagle or serpent, symbols of both wisdom and danger, reminders that discernment can deliver, but also destroy. Dan's inheritance lay on the western edge of Canaan, a coastal land rich and strategic. Yet in time, they grew restless, unable to drive out the inhabitants before them. So they journeyed north and took the city of Laish.
The name Dan, of Aramean origin, derives from the word Dan, which means judge or judgment. Dan became the ancestor of the tribe of Dan, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Interestingly, in the book of Judges, the tribe of Dan is portrayed as using ephods and teraphim in their worship practices, which was unusual and indicated a mix of beliefs. Additionally, the famous Samson, known for his strength and extraordinary feats, was a member of this tribe but is also described as someone who did not fully adhere to the Nazirite vows, making the story of Dan and his descendants even more intriguing. Classical rabbinic writers concluded that Dan was, so to speak, a black sheep among the tribes of Israel. In the book of Jeremiah, the north of Canaan is associated with darkness and evil, which led rabbinic sources to treat Dan as an archetype of wickedness. However, due to pressure from the Philistines, who were their enemies, the tribe migrated north and established itself in Laish, which was later known as Dan, near Mount Hermon. Among the notable members of the tribe of Dan is Samson, who became a legendary hero for his people. Samson possessed supernatural strength granted by God and is widely known for his extraordinary feats. In the book of Numbers, the tribe of Dan is portrayed as the second largest Israelite tribe, following Judah. Some scholars suggest that the census recorded in this book originates from the priestly source, dated around the 6th century BCE, possibly reflecting the biases of its authors.
Renaming it Dan, marking the northern border of Israel from Dan to Beersheba. Their courage was great, their strength undeniable, but within that strength a shadow formed. For in Dan the seeds of idolatry took root. It was there that a graven image was set up, and centuries later, King Jeroboam would choose Dan as one of the places to erect golden calves, leading Israel into sin. The tribe that was meant to judge became instead the example of compromise. A serpent's bite, not fatal in a moment, but slow and venomous.
In rabbinic traditions and apocryphal books, Dan is portrayed negatively, described as someone who hated Joseph and was responsible for the idea of deceiving Jacob by staining Joseph's coat with a goat's blood to fake his death. In the apocryphal prayer of Asenath, Dan is shown as conspiring with the Egyptian heir against Joseph and Asenath, reinforcing his image of betrayal and deceit. Moreover, in Jacob's blessing, Dan is compared to a serpent, a metaphor interpreted as a symbolic connection to Belial, a figure associated with evil. This connection is emphasized in the apocryphal testament of Dan, where he is depicted as aligned with dark forces. Thus, the figure of Dan in the scriptures and apocryphal traditions carries a weight of negativity that distinguishes him from the other tribes of Israel, making his story even more complex and dark. Early Christian writers, such as Irenaeus and Hippolytus, speculated that the Antichrist might arise from the tribe of Dan. This idea gained traction due to the tribe of Dan's omission from the list of the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned by the Apostle John in the book of Revelation, where the 144,000 sealed Israelites are described. Instead of Dan, the tribe of Joseph appears twice, represented by both Joseph and his son Manasseh. This omission has led some to believe there is something sinister associated with Dan. Returning to the book of Genesis, in chapter 49, we find Jacob on his deathbed, gathering all his sons to bless them and prophesy about the future of their tribes and descendants. When it comes to Dan, Jacob delivers a blessing that also carries an enigmatic and even threatening tone. In Genesis 49 verses 16 to 18, Jacob says, "Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider falls backward." This metaphor of the lurking serpent, ready to strike, reinforces the ambiguous and potentially dangerous image of Dan.
Turning hearts away from the living God. And yet, God's mercy still lingers in Dan's story. Though their name is omitted in the 12 tribes listed in Revelation 7, their legacy is not forgotten. For in the words of Moses, when he blessed the tribes before his death, he said, "Dan is a lion's whelp."
In Moses' blessing, which some experts believe predates the Deuteronomistic work, Dan is prophesied to leap from Bashan. However, this prophecy raises questions since the tribe of Dan did not inhabit the plain of Bashan, located east of the Jordan River. This enigmatic reference has sparked debates among scholars regarding its meaning and context. Additionally, the migration of the tribe and their interactions with other tribes and neighboring peoples highlight the complexity of Israelite history and the dynamic changes faced by the tribes in their journeys and conflict.
He shall leap from Bashan, a lion's whelp, young, fierce, not yet defeated. Even in failure, there was hope, a spark of strength that could rise again if turned toward righteousness. Dan reminds us that calling without obedience leads to downfall, that discernment without devotion becomes deception, and that God's gifts, when used apart from His guidance, can become idols instead of instruments.
Exploring the conquests and territories according to the biblical narrative, after the Israelites conquered the land of Canaan, the famous land flowing with milk and honey, around 1200 BCE, Joshua proceeded with the distribution of land among the 12 tribes. The tribe of Dan was the last to receive its territorial inheritance. Originally, the land allocated to Dan was a small enclave in the central coastal region of Canaan, situated between Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, and the Philistines to the north. The territory of Dan bordered Joppa, the modern city of Jaffa. This relatively small territory was quickly diminished due to pressure from the Philistines, who were dangerous neighbors. Thus, the territory of the tribe of Dan ended up situated to the northeast of Naphtali, east of the upper Jordan River, near its eastern sources, defining the northern extent of the Israelite land. As the threat from Philistine incursions grew, the Israelite tribes decided to form a centralized monarchy to confront the challenge. The tribe of Dan integrated into the new kingdom under the leadership of Saul, the first king of Israel, who unified the tribes. After Saul's death, all the tribes, except Judah, remained loyal to Saul's house. However, after the death of Ishbosheth, Saul's son and successor, the tribe of Dan allied with the other northern Israelite tribes to support the reign of David, who was then the king of Judah and had reunited the kingdom of Israel. The tribe of Dan provided significant military support to David's kingdom, standing out with 28,600 soldiers and being recognized as specialists in combat. This support was crucial in consolidating and strengthening the unified kingdom of Israel against external threats and the complex political dynamics of the time. However, with the rise of Rehoboam, David's grandson, around 930 BCE, the northern tribes seceded from David's house and formed the Kingdom of Israel, known as the Northern Kingdom. During the Assyrian conquest of the Kingdom of Israel, the territory of Dan was subdued by the Assyrians, and many of its inhabitants were exiled. This exile resulted in the loss of many historical records about the tribe. Some members of the tribe fled south, seeking refuge in the Kingdom of Judah, where they gradually assimilated into the local Israelite population. One of the main characteristics associated with the tribe of Dan was navigation. In the Song of Deborah, it is mentioned that the tribe remained in their ships with their belongings, indicating a strong maritime tradition. Interestingly, this characteristic may not have been originally from the tribe but could have been absorbed through contact with the Philistines, known navigators, and one of the sea peoples, as well as with the Phoenicians, who were also skilled navigators.
But the God of Israel, the judge of all, does not cast away forever. From Dan's shadow, we learn that no tribe, no person, and no heart is beyond redemption. For every serpent's sting, there is still a Savior who was lifted up, that whosoever looks upon him may live. So when we remember the tribe of Dan, we remember both the danger and the destiny. We see a people called to uphold justice, yet tempted to follow their own wisdom. And we see in their story the eternal truth, that justice without mercy hardens, but mercy without truth blinds. Only in Christ, the true judge, do both find their perfection. The story of Dan is the story of humility itself. Blessed, broken, and still beloved. A tribe that teaches us that though we may stumble, the line of Judah still offers redemption, even to those who have wandered north into the shadows. I hope you enjoyed this, and follow for more Tribes of Israel. God bless you.
Modern artists often use the balance of justice to represent the tribe of Dan, due to the meaning of Dan as justice, judgment, or verdict, as mentioned in Genesis 49 verse 16. However, traditional representations frequently show a serpent or viper, based on Genesis 49 verse 17, which describes Dan as a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heel so that its rider falls backward. Some believe that the tribe of Dan is not listed in the book of Revelation among the sealed tribes due to its loss of identity or assimilation by other peoples of the Middle East.